I'm Jesse. This is my brother Curtis. I have a question, and that is, should the church always be unified theologically?
So I love and hate that question because I want to say yes. Theologically, I really struggle. I do believe that generally we should be unified, but there are things in the church today, at least in my estimation, one of the biggest problems in the church today is that we have so watered things down doctrinally in an effort to maintain unity, and I can't be that guy.
Right.
I mean, there is a line when it comes to doctrines that, because I believe that doctrine is important to God, and we are given these doctrines.
Right.
So
would you say hell, for example, the preaching of hell has been kind of whitewashed? Like Joel Osteen talks about, sinners, people don't even be told they're sinners. They know they're sinners.
Right. Yeah.
And he'll never use
right.
the
And
hell
Vodi
word.
Bakum says, no, they don't.
Right.
Because the thing is, we do need to talk. That is a doctrine, and we do need, we are responsible to preach the whole counsel of God. And that
Right.
includes the things that we don't necessarily like. And that would
Right.
include topics like hell. Just recently with my students, I was talking about Jonathan Edwards, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. I mean, he preached on hell. I mean, you can't do that every week.
No.
He didn't do it every week, but he did it one week, and people were fainting, apparently. They were weeping. I mean, it was not just like tears in their eyes.
Right.
I mean, it was the only thing that is keeping you out of hell right now is God's merciful hand of protection. I mean, we owe it. It is part of, doctrinally, we have to, whether we like to do it or not.
Right.
So, yeah, that's a great example, actually.
Right, hell. And I heard R.C. Sproul one time, he said, the good news doesn't make sense without knowing the bad news, right? So if you're going to preach the full counsel, if you're going to preach, the grace of God, right,
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense unless you know where you're headed,
Right.
Because no one cares, right, if like a doctor says, hey, you have
Right.
cancer, but you don't believe it, you don't care about the cure, you're not going to take it. You're like, so I don't have that, right? But once you tell people like Jonathan Edwards and, the Puritans, they were all big on that, which Jonathan
Right.
Edwards is a Puritan.
He was. Yep.
But once you start telling people their state that they're in,
Right.
it makes the riches of grace so much more valuable.
It does, but we have gotten ourselves to a point where we're not willing to do that because we don't want to experience the disunity, which is
Right.
the opposite of that unity. But because there is a price to pay for preaching the truth, but we are still called to do that.
And we don't want to offend people, I feel like, too. That's just where we're at, like, with the homosexuality. And, it's like you can't, it's like a swear word, almost. Like, leave that, don't bring that topic up in Sunday
Yeah.
school, in class. That's, hey, we can talk about that in our own time.
Right. So the gospel is offensive.
Right.
It is. I do believe we have a responsibility not to make it more offensive, but I feel just as strongly that we have a responsibility not to make it less offensive.
Right.
It is what it is, and preaching the full counsel of God is going to offend people.
Right.
That's okay. People need to be offended sometimes.
Right.